Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Pulp Crazy. I'm your host, Jason Aiken. In this week's episode, I'll be discussing The Dark Eidolon by Clark Ashton Smith. Clark Ashton Smith was born on January 13th, 1893, and this episode is going up on January 13th, 2016 to celebrate his birthday. The Dark Eidolon is a short story, and it first appeared in the January 1935 issue of Weird Tales. It's probably the most recognizable story by title in Smith's Zothique series of dark fantasy tales. The Zothique stories are set on the continent of the same name in the far future, after the Earth's yellow sun has turned red. The Dark Eidolon is a sorceress tale of revenge. It takes place in Ummaus, the capital of the kingdom of Zothique. The lead character of the story is the sorcerer, Namirrha, whom this text seems to indicate is the most powerful sorcerer to ever walk the land of Zothique. This was not always the case for the Dark Mage, however. While everyone believed Namirrha was a native of the desert realm of Tassoon, this was not the case. For you see, Namirrha wasn't always known by that name. He was born Narthos, a beggar boy in the city of Ummaus, the setting for the Dark Eidolon. Growing up on the streets of Ummaus, begging for food, the young Narthos lived a miserable existence. But the true catalyst to his life occurred when Zothique, the prince of Zothique, who wasn't much older than he was, rode him down and trampled him beneath the hooves of his horse in the square in front of the imperial palace. Narthos survived, but he now had a limp, and he would carry a hoof mark on his body for the rest of his days. Narthos eventually left the city of Ummaus and traveled south into the desert realm of Tassoon. It was here, in a desert oasis, where he met the wizard Zothique, who saw the potential for great evil in the boy. Narthos became the wizard's pupil, and like his master, eventually bound himself to the archfiend, Poseidon. When his master, Zothique, died, Narthos took the name Namirrha, and journeyed out into Tassoon, where his fame began to grow. Now, Namirrha has returned home to Ummaus, where Zothique is now king, and he means to have his revenge. That's the basic setup of the Dark Eidolon. I don't want to go into any more detail than that, though, as I really don't want to spoil anything. I basically just summarized the first few pages of the short story. There's still plenty more going on in this wonderful tale of dark fantasy. As I mentioned earlier in the episode, when people say Zothique, I think The Dark Eidolon is the title that usually first pops into people's heads. And I think there's a reason for that. It's a great piece of fantasy. The magic used in this story is on a pretty insane level for a sword and sorcery tale. As a matter of fact, it kind of inches its way towards high or epic fantasy in scale, as Namirrha is one powerful bastard. Not to say powerful dark wizards don't have their place in sword and sorcery. Heck, just look at Robert E. Howard's stories featuring Conan as a king. The Hour of the Dragon comes immediately to my mind. But I think that even Zoltan of Acheron would have to give his props to Namirrha. If you're into well-written dark fantasy featuring eldritch gods, powerful sorcerers, and revenge tales, definitely give The Dark Eidolon a read. You don't have to read any of the other Zothique stories to appreciate this one. I've read about 4 or 5 Zothique tales, and I found all of them to be pretty much self-contained. There is a reference in this story to Mordegan, or Mordegian, I should say, the entity which the ghouls from H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos worship during the time of Zothique. But that's probably the most remarkable reference that jumps into my mind. The Dark Eidolon is available in several anthologies, but I would recommend you read it in one of 2 anthologies that are currently in print. The Dark Eidolon and Other Stories, edited by S.T. Yoshi, published by Penguin Books, is a nice collection of Clark Ashton Smith's writings. This is a collection that came out fairly recently too, and you can still pick it up off the shelf at Barnes & Noble or off Amazon. If you're a fan of ebooks, Nightshade Books has put out a series collecting Smith's fantasy work. The Dark Eidolon is available in the Collected Fantasies of Clark Ashton Smith, Volume 4, The Maze of the Enchanter. This is a good one to pick up if you want more Zothique stories for your buck, as this collection also includes The Isle of Torturers, The Charnel God, The Voyage of King Uvoron, Volthoom, and The Weaver in the Vault. Now, I highly recommend The Charnel God. I did an episode on that Zothique story as well, and I really enjoyed that tale. Maze of the Enchanter is currently available on Kindle, hardcover, and Audible, but a softcover is supposed to be coming out as well. But I believe Nightshade is spreading the softcover releases of this series out over the next year or so. So be sure to keep an eye on their website or Amazon for that if you want all of the Zothique stories under one cover. Really, the best way is to get Tales of Zothique from Necronomicon Press, which was edited by Will Murray with Steve Behrens. Unfortunately, it's no longer in print, but it's the definitive collection of all of Clark Ashton Smith's Zothique stories. It came out in June 1995. Like the Penguin and Nightshade books, Tales of Zothique has the preferred text in it. As far as I know, Tales of Zothique is the only complete collection that has the preferred text. To my knowledge, the Lynn Carter edited Zothique paperback from Ballantine Books doesn't have the preferred text. You can also read the story online for free on the Eldritch Dark website. I'll be sure to include links to all of these in the show notes. Well, that's it for this week's episode of Pulp Crazy. I'd like to take this moment and wish a happy birthday to Clark Ashton Smith. Pulp Crazy is located at pulpcrazy.com. I'm at Pulp Crazy on Twitter and facebook.com/pulpcrazy. My YouTube channel is located at youtube.com/pulpcrazy. You can also email me at pulpcrazy@gmail.com. My author website is located at jasonscottaiken.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.